one of the big parts of personalization is relatability. Can I relate to this brand? Okay. When I say can I relate to this brand, that means I should be able to relate to every touch point I have with that brand. Okay. And your customer experience centers are a big part of that. Correct? So like an airline contact center, or an e-commerce player's contact center, so they're all part of the brand. Okay, they are my brand touch points. They focus a lot on this. Okay, that every associate, they spend a lot of time initially, to make them part of the brand. Okay, what do they stand for? Like suppose if it's a sports memorabilia, brand, they will spend time, in understanding, with their associates, they understand the sports, or they hire those people who understand that sport, can relate to it. I know of, one airlines, they actually have simulation kind of planes, where the associates go spend some time, during the initial training to have that experience, because then, the relatability of the personalization go. Now with AI, it becomes so much more easier.
Right.
Earlier, you would have to have this entire physical thing to be created.
Now this becomes a level playing field.
So now it becomes a level playing field. With AI, I can do that. I can simulate the entire thing. Okay. Or I can assist that person in real time with knowledge they might not have. I would say CCaaS platforms, when a customer calls in, it will bring up the entire history, what has happened, what has not. AI now helps you summarize it, so that you don't have to read through it. Okay, AI can help you contextualize it. What do you have end-to-end control on? Your employees. You don't control the customers who are coming in.
True.
You don't control the journeys they will take. You can predict. You can design. Okay, but at least where you have your end-to-end control. What can you do on that piece? There you have no excuses.
Right.
Right. There you can't get away with the excuse. Oh, I did not get this access or whatever. No, this is in your control. Okay. Yes, customer journey, where they're coming from, how they will interact. Of course, there are many variables to that. You will not always have access to a certain API, or you will not know what a journey happens. And slowly you will find out, and you will of course address it. But this thing, that's a no-brainer in my mind.
Right.
See, there's this again, there is a golden rule, right? Which is do not do unto others as you would that they should do unto you. Correct? It's the same thing. So what you deliver to employees is what you will deliver outside. It is about what X's should I measure for a Y. Correct? I need to know what all X's are there to achieve a Y. Okay. Now, how often do you see that we have defined that X and the Y equation? I think we get too lost either on the Y or on the X. What we fail is, we don't. Okay, let's say, what is AST, FCR, NPS, CSAT? They're all X's.
Right.
They're not Y's. But we treat them as Y's.
Right.
Correct? So it's okay. Yes, now the Y's at the end, your actually, how do you measure? So we have to define how we will measure that Y, right? In that terms of, is it revenue, or is it whatever it is? So then you say, okay, now an AST moving up by 10%, out this, how does my Y get impacted? Then you have a lot more play. Correct? Then you will do the right thing. Okay. Where you would say, okay, hey, if my call duration goes up, it actually, makes my Y go up, or what is the sensitivity analysis between that X and Y.
And if you know the why, you'll ask the right questions as well to your team. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of CX with Chopra. So today I'm thrilled to introduce my guest, Mr. Abhinandan Jain. So he's the Chief Strategy Officer at Startek, which is a global customer experience management firm. And along with his role, he's also a leading voice in the CX space. He runs his own podcast as well, CX Talks. So do go watch out as well. And he's also world's top 100 digital chief digital officers as well. So he's been at the forefront of the whole digital business transformation, and I think now also at the forefront of the whole customer experience transformation. So there's lots I think we have to talk about and discuss, and really excited and looking forward to this discussion. So thank you so much for joining.
No, thank you, Arjun. Thank you for having me. Happy to be on a similar podcast. I
Yeah.
run, and it's actually needed. I think there's a lot more of such discussion that needs to happen because at the end of the day, people talk about customer experience, employee experience, but if when you try to find unbiased resources, I think that there's very few. Okay, or
Right.
just to gain knowledge, or just to gain knowledge for someone who's trying to enter the industry. And
Right.
but happy to be here, and thanks for such a generous introduction and welcome. So,
Oh, thank you so much. I want to I want to start off with the thought, which a lot of us must be feeling, that there are so many tech innovations happening, thanks to the whole AI wave, with the whole I think ever since chat GPT last year when it was introduced. Since then there's so many new things coming out probably every month, so many new AI tools. So there is a big focus from organizations everywhere, which makes sense, from chatbots to AI to automation. Then how do we focus on these innovations and change things? But there's a certain tech fatigue as well on the consumer side. So while everybody, which we are also going to talk about, what's out there, how now we have the power to transform CX or deliver that seamless CX. But I mean, for starters, we would want to have that conversation around, all these innovations. What do they really mean for the human on the other side on the interaction?
okay,
And I categorically said human. I've seen your podcast. So I'm not
right.
saying customer. It's the human. Yeah.
And then that's important. That's important.
Hmm.
Because before you get into technology, you have to understand. What are you even trying to address? Okay.
Hmm.
What we are trying to look at today is how do I make an human interaction, with human to human interaction more meaningful. Okay, specifically when it's not happening in person, it's happening at a time when you need help. Correct. You're
Hmm.
probably reaching out to a customer experience center because you need help, because either you're stuck, somewhere, you need to get to a doctor, or there's something not working. And in those cases, how do you enable two humans, to have an empathetic conversation, right?
Hmm.
With that conversation now is where the technology comes in. Okay, with AI there is hype,
Yeah.
there is fear.
Hmm.
Okay, and there is also a lot of unknowns. Okay, which makes it quite difficult for people to comprehend and say how do I use it in this scenario.
But this you're saying from the perspective of end user or from a business perspective?
No, I'm talking from everyone's perspective, right? An
Yeah.
end user today is not educated enough
Right.
to interact with an AI bot. Okay, for them it's like, why am I interacting with an AI bot? Okay, they need to be educated,
Right.
or the bot does not need to sound too much, because one of the studies found, if you openly say upfront that you will be talking to a bot, okay, the
Hmm.
acceptance of the end user to talk to that is much higher. Okay, then otherwise they feel cheated. Oh, I thought it's a human. Oh, but it's a bot.
Right.
Okay, so it's a
Set the
trust
expectation.
factor, right? From a company standpoint, now from the other standpoint, it is like, where do I use technology? I hear about so many things. I hear about humans going away. Okay, and then suddenly you have all of these death by POCs. Okay,
Right.
you have to really find what are you trying to solve for. Okay, what are the real issues you're trying to solve for. Okay,
Right.
And the real issue is, how do I give more intelligence and context to that conversation so that conversation is ends up in a meaningful result, right? That's what you want out of the conversation. Because if a end user who's calling in is satisfied with what the resolution they got, that's a good customer experience. That's, so you look at technology from that perspective. That's what I strongly feel. Okay, you have to really understand your use cases, see what are you actually solving for in the human quotient, and then apply it. Yes, AI is very powerful, okay, on how it can augment that, and it can help people have meaningful conversations.
But from a business standpoint, all the business, all the leaders out there, it's a great PR moment for them as well to talk about all the tools, tech. But are they also looking at measuring how people actually feel? Or it's more around to be that first one, or have that, because it's a different perspective then.
Correct, correct. So let me answer it this way. Okay, there was an interesting data I saw recently, okay, which said, basically 74% of the customers want
Hmm.
seamless journeys, okay,
Hmm.
but 8% believe that they are getting it.
Wow, only eight.
But the story does not end here. 80% of the companies thinks they are delivering it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
so that's the paradox. Okay, so that's the paradox, and you raise an interesting point. How do we measure that, right? Do you measure? How do you
Hmm.
measure that satisfaction? Today, your measurement metrics are normally CSAT and NPS.
Which is more like a postpartum. I
Which
mean,
is
just
more like a postpartum, right? So
yeah.
then we move to this whole right now about, hey, can we sense emotion using AI on the
Hmm.
call?
Right.
So I'm sensing, okay, is the customer getting angry, happy, what they are, and then accordingly the call will get to a supervisor or they'll be barged in and things like that. Okay.
Right.
But now, my challenge to that is that too much overload on the your associate who's taking that call, because for the associate, it's like I'm seeing all these red, yellow blinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So that puts them into, have you prepared them for that?
Right.
So what is the true measurement, for an experience? Okay, and there's a lot of different, I think, school of thoughts which are right now going on, that, yes, CSAT and NPS needs to change because they're postpartum. One of the things, which I have been experimenting with is, okay, using AI and in using LLMs, how can you measure, that conversation journey? How did the conversation go? What node did it start at? What were the midpoints? What were the high points? Okay, and basis that, you continuously train your associates. Okay, because, if you look at the data and you
Hmm.
come from an analytics background, if I can find out, okay, what are the high points? What are the keywords? What are the what is it that customer really wants as an outcome? Okay, while they might start this something else, they end something else. Okay,
Hmm.
in what moment did they exhibit happiness? Okay, if you collate that, will tell you, okay, what do customers really value?
Hmm.
Okay, now are they, and this can be simple things, this can be customers really value if they get a deal. Okay, if they get a discount.
Hmm.
Okay, it might throw up things like, hey, customers really value, okay, when instead of being handed over between departments, there is one super SME. You can solve
Right.
it then and there, even if it takes 30 minutes.
Right.
Okay, and there, but I don't have to call different departments. Okay, maybe customers
Hmm.
value that. Each brand will have its own different thing because every item has its own usage. Okay,
Right.
that's where you have to use AI. Okay, to get those insights, and then, kind of, I would say, reinforce your associates, to deliver that.
Interesting. And another interesting thought, I mean, which came to my mind was, so do you think we are at the big shift I mean, we've been talking, I think post pandemic rather, we've been talking about the whole CX transformation. That, the whole, seen the whole, seen the times of digital transformation, but now is when everybody's talking about CX, because I think post pandemic, everybody went digital. Now your banks are not comparing with other banks, they're probably comparing with likes of an Amazon on the experience side, because that's where the customer expectation is. Or they're competing with an Airbnb, or other
Yeah.
players who are disrupting the whole space. But do you think with AI, and I'll share my perspective on why I'm saying it, is going to fast track that whole transformation uh, rapidly? Because and what maybe the whole digital push through pandemic did not do, AI could do. Why I'm coming, I'll share an example. So I was doing a podcast with this gentleman who's the CEO and founder of Clovia, which is into retail in India. So he shared an interesting perspective. He's like, in India, for the longest time there was a distribution challenge. So so whoever had that distribution channel, who could put products
Correct.
out there on multiple channels, had the competitive edge. So having a distribution channel was the competitive edge. But post, I think, 2015-16, when e-commerce built up, multiple channels came into play. Now everybody, at least for the first, let's say, 100 crore or 200 crore customers at least, or revenue rather, they had a certain access to distribution, so that became a level playing field. What it meant, one, now the competition was on product. So people starting, at least in India in 2017-18 onwards, starting focusing on product, because now product was the differentiating factor and giving that competitive edge. And now if I look at it in the whole context of our conversation, now with AI, with efficiency and everything, now for any business, getting a website up and ready is just probably few clicks. Probably getting a call center, it's let's say it's no more a big investment. It's more like getting those CX agents. So it's becoming a level playing field. What some of these elements used to be as a
Correct.
differentiating factor, and now brands would solely focus on CX, because that will become a differentiating factor. I mean, do you foresee that? Is that?
No, absolutely, absolutely, and you rightly said. See, in the last 3 years, that's exactly what has been going on. Correct.
Hmm.
You look at any of the top surveys which have come out either by the CX product companies which they've done independently, Gartner, Forrester.
Hmm.
The brands, 80% of the brands are competing on customer experience. Okay. And then equally, about 80% of the consumers say one bad experience they will shift.
Right.
The barriers to shifting almost does not exist.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because today, like for example, I'm doing online, say, e-commerce shopping. If I don't have a good experience, there's another platform there. I can easily shift to that and I'll find equal or same goods.
Hmm.
Correct. Bank, I'm doing a digital online banking. One bad experience, how long does it take? 2 hours maximum, if it does, to move all your money from one platform to another.
Yeah.
That's all. Correct. So that is the battlefield. Okay. Now in
Hmm.
that battlefield, what has happened is there are three fundamental evolutionary forces which have come together recently. One is there is an entire shift from labor arbitrage to intelligence arbitrage.
All right.
Okay. It is no longer about cost per FT, the cheapest location, where am I going.
That's
Okay.
not the differentiator anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not differentiator. The differentiator is how is AI augmenting the human to deliver a better service, deliver a better experience. Okay. Both as an employee, so I should feel good while working that I am enabled by AI to deliver good work. Okay. That
Hmm.
boosts your own morale. That gets you a longevity, or for that person in the organization, right? And then also the
Hmm.
customer. The second is the emergence of agentic AI. Okay,
Hmm.
which is more recent, right? So that's the second force, which right now, yes, it's still I would say in its nascent stages. Okay, but it is basically forcing us to fundamentally reimagine how works get done.
True.
Where at the end to end, and the back end, I can create end to end workflows, driven by agents, leaving the human to have a more human to human conversation. So, leave the grunt work to the bot, spend your time just like what we are spending, talking to the other person, understanding what it is, create more empathy in that conversation. And third is, where all of your these tech stacks are coming together.
Hmm.
Right? You see, all of these acquisitions which are happening. Okay, all these tech stacks have constantly, been different, but how do you unify data, with, and I know, data is a problem uh,
Yeah.
which is my favorite peeve, and you would have heard it. It's a problem which is getting solved for last 30 years, but still it is not solved.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like traffic.
Yeah. But how, combining analytics, AI, data,
Yeah.
the agentic AI platform. So that's the conversion which is happening. So these three together, from an artificial in agentic AI, to the convergence of tech stacks, shifting the industry from labor arbitrage to intelligence arbitrage, just creates the right environment to reimagine and redefine that CX and how it is delivered.
Interesting. And you often, when you talk about CX, you also talk about EX, employee experience as well.
Yeah.
And I'm also very much, uh, you know, passionate about the whole culture aspect. I mean, I just want to check with you: is that thought coming in from enabling the employee, like you mentioned, from AI, which is an important aspect, or is it also about the whole culture of the organization? Because there's so many examples of how a certain organization enables their staff to deal with customers, and that empowerment leads to the great CX because 99% of the time that's the last touch or the interaction point.
Yeah. And see, there's this famous book or a proverb, right? Which culture eats strategy for lunch,
Right. Yep.
right? And I truly believe in that. Okay. And I tell you, so let's take an example. Okay. Do you know of any person who you have talked to in the morning who gets up in the morning and said, "Today I'm going to go to work and do a lousy job"? I don't think anyone does it. Okay. People genuinely get up in the morning, to say, "Okay, today I want to do great things." Okay. And that's where, culture starts coming. So when you go to work, what is the culture? Does it enable you? Does it make you feel happy? Okay. Because that slowly gets translated into everything. Our own experience are, you had a lousy day, you'll probably come home and shout at things, which you should not be, but just because you had a lousy day. Okay, it
Hmm.
reflects. Okay, that's how we are wired. But same for the people, our associates, who we are trusting with a
Hmm.
brand experience, to be delivered. Okay, they need to be a culture, where they feel proud, where they feel valued. Okay, when they go to their actual work. Okay, we
Hmm.
need to give them tools. Okay, we need to enable them so that they're successful. Okay, so instead
Right.
of, like, you talk about post facto service, so instead of saying, "Oh, in this call, you sucked. Okay, your AST was higher. Okay, your tone was not good." Okay, what are the tools I'm providing to that associate? You say, "Hey, use this, use AI, as your friend, to learn, to grow, and then, okay, I can find out using AI which areas you're good at."
Hmm.
Okay, instead of focusing on which areas you're bad at, and then maybe they need a different role, different things. Because when they're happy, when the employees are happy, their experience is happy, it translates into a better customer experience. Again, I don't, you can go and Google, you'll find a
Yeah.
lot of data on correlation from universities, from many studies, not just in one demographics or one geography, but across.
Across. Yeah. And from there, coming to a point of the whole AI plus human operating model, because that is the talk of the town. Everybody's thinking about it. The whole promise of agentic AI, it's becoming real. People have started to see value of it with GPT-5 being launched. You can, I mean, every person has access to agent, the whole agentic mode. And it's quite fascinating and interesting as well. But from an organization standpoint, how do organizations look at, what to automate, what to augment, what must remain human, and how do we measure the whole value? So what's,
So
yeah, I like to say philosophy. What's your philosophy? Because it's been like that,
no,
I
it's
think, last
and
year or so.
talking
Yeah.
philosophy. I think one of the things which in the current role which I did and was map we mapped the entire journey of an employee from even identification, right? When you're out there, you have your first job ad out there.
Hmm.
Your experience starts there,
Hmm.
okay, for any employee, okay, by
Hmm.
seeing that first job ad. From there, we mapped it right to where they are actually retiring, or moving on to a different job, and what are the key elements in that job, okay. And at a broad level, they're like, okay, you hiring, assessing, hiring, on the job training, then of course, augmenting, gamifying, making it more fun, and then all the auxiliary things that they need, like what is the mental health support they
Right.
need, what is the other internal systems they need, like I need to check my payroll, I need to check all of this, okay. So you look at all of these components, okay, and then we did that. And then in each we identified the friction, and this was all survey based, getting down with people, of course, doing it the entire, I would say, Six Sigma process way, because
Hmm.
that's where I spent 10 years of my life,
Wow.
going in
Hmm.
GE Genpact, to do Six Sigma, uh, and identifying what are the key friction points, okay, and how can I then use, yes, generative is more recent, but we started, first it was just automation, then now AI and Gen AI to automate it. And that itself created a huge impact. Okay. And I can tell you, I'll give you one data point, which was actually an eye opener, which I did not expect, the data to come across, which was, we were doing, something with an AI coaching platform. Okay. Of course,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
common metric is, yes, okay, if I do this, people should be more trained. Okay.
Hmm.
So my metrics will be better. Right. That's what, when they go on the production floor,
Yeah.
because they've practiced over and again using AI. So I expect that the metrics they will deliver on the production floor will be better.
All right.
But interestingly enough, my attrition fell down from that training to production. There used to be some people who would drop out. Okay, and the reason for that was because people were feeling more confident. That, oh, I will have the tools to be successful.
Right.
Okay, so they were more willing to move ahead into the production environment because yes, as a company, the company is supporting me. I have the AI tool by my side. Okay,
Right.
and then that what reflects, okay, you're making them more confident, you're making setting them up for success. Okay, and
Right.
that's why I'm a big proponent of employee experience first, uh, before you start looking at the customer experience. So
It's very inspiring to also know, like, for example, I mean, for a company like Startek, which is into customer experience management, but in-house, I mean, it's like this, right? You have to first look in-house, believe in that, implement that, and then go and sell that. So it's
yeah,
just great to look at
the
that. How you're looking
startup
at the
viewpoint
whole.
is that's something which is in my control for any company.
Right. Right.
See, for any company, you know, take any end customer, any BPO. What do you have what do you have a end-to-end control on? Your
Mm.
employees. You don't control the customers who are coming in.
True.
You don't control the journeys they will take. You can predict,
Hmm.
you can design. Okay. But at least, where you have your end to end control, what can you do on that piece? There you have no excuses.
Right.
Right. There you can't get away with the excuse, oh, I did not get this access or whatever. No. This is in
Hmm.
your control. Okay. Yes, customer journey, where they're coming from, how they will interact. Of course, there are many variables to that. You will not always have access to a certain API, or you will not know what a journey happens, and slowly you will find out, and of course address it. But this thing, that's a no-brainer in my mind.
Right. Agree. And then, I mean, if you've empowered your employees who are going to eventually going to be interacting with the customers, so that's going to impact the whole relationship you will have with your customers.
Yeah,
And that's where and that's another shift, the whole relationship, conversations where now people, a be- thanks to the focus on empowerment culture, one is that, and the other is also probably because of hyper personalization, or I don't know if it's still a myth.
correct,
Maybe
correct.
because maybe because of that, do you see there's a shift happening
It is
from
because from the employee point, I would just close it out by saying, see, there's this again, there is a golden rule, right? Which is do not do unto others as you would that they should do unto you. Correct? Uh, it's the same thing, So what you deliver to
yeah,
the employees is what you will deliver outside.
right, because that's the tone, feeling, value that they'll
Right.
pass on. Right, right, right.
Okay.
But from a customer perspective, with this shift in focus happening with AI, you can do even personalization at scale. So there's a shift happening to more conversations, to more relationship, focus on empathy, these aspects. So do you see there's a shift happening from running just campaigns, which brands do, to more conversation? And that's where we see the whole influencer economy building up as well, because that's where everybody has a niche, because people look at somebody who talks like me, walks like me, I can relate to, and that guy next door is a big influencer. And now brand wants influencer because they can have conversation with end user. So it's no more that I have this great product, just come by because it has this 10 feature. No, I think even end customers want them to be understood, to be felt. I mean, do you see that shift happening, or
I
it's
I'll answer it in a couple of ways. One, influencer marketing. We'll keep it
yeah,
aside
it's a
for
separate,
another
yeah.
day. We'll keep it aside for another day.
Yeah.
I might have some strong viewpoints on that, but we will not get into that.
uh,
Okay, but but yes, the point you make is what is personalization? Okay, personalization is one of the big parts of personalization is relatability. Can I relate to this brand? Okay. When I say can I relate to this brand, that means I should be able to relate to every touch point I have with that brand. Okay. And your customer experience centers are a big part of that. Correct? So like an airline contact center, or an e-commerce player's contact center, so they're all part of the brand. Okay, they are my brand touch points. Okay. Now in that, imagine, and then we get into a lot of those things, right? Imagine, say you're stuck at the airport,
hmm,
and you call into a brand and that brand's contact center. Okay,
hmm,
that associate is sitting at a far end of the world, probably from very humble backgrounds, never ever seen an airplane,
hmm.
and didn't get a training of what an airplane looks like, or a simulation or something. What do you think will happen? The person will not be able to relate to what you are going through. Okay, and that brand ethos will just not come out. Okay.
Very interesting you said that, because I think last month there was something in news that a hotel in Miami has an iPad where there's somebody sitting in India who's on video always, who's doing the check-in and doing handling all the concierge. So very interesting, because like saying that guy may not know what, let's say, somebody in US, what their mindset is, what they expect.
Correct.
Of course, I mean, hospitality is so different.
So if you look at some of
I
the
can
great
relate to it. Yeah.
brands which are out there, I won't name some of the brands, just from the but there's some of the great brands out there. They focus a lot on this. Okay, that every
Hmm.
associate, they spend a lot of time initially, to make them part of the brand. Okay, what do they stand for? Like suppose if it's a sports memorabilia,
Hmm.
brand, they will spend time in understanding with their associates, they understand the sports, or they hire those people who understand that sport, can relate to it. I know of one airlines, they actually have simulation kind of planes, where the
Right.
associates go spend some time, during the initial training to have that experience, because then, the relatability of the personalization go. Now with AI, it becomes so much more easier.
Right.
See, earlier you would have to have this entire physical thing to be created.
Now this becomes a level playing field.
So now it becomes a level playing field. With AI, I can do that. I can simulate the entire thing.
Hmm.
Okay. Or I can assist that person in real time with knowledge they might not have. Right. Like, yes, you're stuck in, let's say, you're stuck at an airport, because of weather issues and all of that. And you say, hey, can you route me to someplace else? Okay. Now, in that real time, can AI suggest to that person, or just show this is the map, this is where this person is stuck, and these are the neighboring states, or these are
Right.
neighboring things. The person can at least talk through it, right? Say if you're saying, okay, no, hey, can you just maybe put me on a flight to Hyderabad, and I will just I'll just drive. Okay. Someone who doesn't even know the geography will be like, will not be able to relate. So that's where I think AI is helping and will help.
It's more relatedness than personalization
Yeah, because if
in
you're
a way.
relating, it becomes personalized. See, personalization in terms of getting my background information is today exists. Okay, it is always with the convergence of the platforms, right?
Right.
Today, most of the, I would say, CCAS platforms, when a customer calls in, it will bring up the entire history, what has
Hmm.
happened, what has not. AI now helps you summarize it so that you don't have to
Right.
read through it. Okay, AI can help you contextualize it. Okay,
Hmm.
where it becomes personal. Yes, Mr. Arjun, I know you were trying this, you were stuck with
Yeah.
this, you talked to someone. Is it about that? Okay, you cut out all the crap, in the beginning,
Correct. Correct.
all the finding it. So yeah,
No, but it's interesting because that relatedness, see, interesting in the sense that typically your product owners or brands think that they have to think about everything personalization. How do we personalize? How do we personalize? Yes, call center is one where I've called, so I expect them to know me.
yeah,
But let's say if I'm getting emails, I'm shown ads, or I go on a marketplace and I suddenly see, oh, I was talking about this with my wife in the morning. Why I'm seeing this in an ad right now? So the whole thin line between privacy
correct, correct,
and trust and security, it's interesting that not everything has to be personalized, it has to be related. So we
correct.
have to focus on the context, and I think context becomes takes is now
And
taking a
then
center
privacy,
stage.
trust, security is a big thing, and I would say yes. We all are saying okay with the predictions. In terms of the speed of AI adoption, I think one of the biggest thing which that needs to be
Hmm.
solved for, it's getting solved for right now, is around security, data guardrails, it's
Hmm.
privacy. More so in the today's world, in today's geopolitical world, where every country is coming up with their specific AI laws, the
All right.
privacy laws. It still needs to be seen how all of that translates
Hmm.
uh, into your base designs on how you're going to deliver that CX. Correct.
Hmm.
So where will the data reside? Like if every country wants to have their data residing in their
Yeah.
own country, now let's imagine you as Arjun are based in India,
Hmm.
okay, and then you decide to move to the US or temporarily, or
Hmm.
you're there for 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Now someone being in the US, now does the call get routed to your home base,
Yeah.
or to someone who's handling the issues for the US market, but then will they have access to data? Don't know. Okay, so, because on how
Hmm.
things are, so those things are, I think those are a lot of things that are evolving,
True.
with the entire data sharing. So
Right. But yeah, I mean, a great takeaway. The whole. I'm sorry, coming back to the whole
yeah,
relatedness over personalization, because not every time everybody has to run for personalization. Probably they have to look for relatedness, and there will be a lot of use cases, and the customer would still feel, that they're being seen, heard, or and
Correct.
they're considered rather through the brand, via the brand. And it's not a privacy breach as well, because very difficult, I'm sure, that how do you design for trust? I mean, trust is an outcome.
Trust, exactly. Trust is an outcome, and every interaction adds to that trust outcome.
Correct, right. I mean, right from saying how that call center guy is talking, that employee is talking, how
Correct.
the website is looking. I mean, if the website and let's say the Instagram is not consistent in terms of theme, color palette, I'll not trust that brand.
Yeah, correct, correct. And I'll tell you what, you're talking about, maybe I'm digressing a bit, but experience, right? A customer experience. We're talking about that. I'll give you an
Hmm.
example. It's an example from my interaction yesterday. Again, I won't name the brand.
Hmm.
So, I said, okay, I need a fiber connectivity to my home. Okay.
Hmm.
So, of course, I get, all the equipment. There's a date. They said, okay, you will get all the equipment, and say by 21st of August. On 21st of August, your service will be activated. Okay. I think the courier companies and then the postal companies did a great job. I get my equipment and everything 2 days in advance. Okay, it was supposed to come on 21st. It reached me on 19th, which is great. So I was happy. Okay,
Hmm.
but then I called this company and they said, okay, now can you just activate my
Right.
connection? And they said no.
Still have to wait 2 more days.
Yeah, they said we can postpone it, but we can't prepone it. And I just get. I'm like, you're not coming with a shovel to lay that fiber line. It's already there. It's a software click button. I know that. I'm a techie. So I know.
Yeah.
So you say, okay, just check mark it, and it'll be the data will be flowing through. But they could not do it. So those are things. So now will that get how will that get captured from a personalization perspective, or relatability perspective, or a CSAT or an NPS perspective? It will come, only after it becomes a quite a number of such cases will it ever come up, right? Otherwise, it won't.
It's very interesting because this leads to the point, again, going back to data.
Yeah,
What's the KPI for success then? Because, I mean, very interesting. So there's this Goodhart's law, which states that when a measure or a metric becomes a target, then it ceases to become a good measure.
correct,
It's like, if my bonus is tied to NPS, so I know how to design my NPS,
correct,
right? How to get the responses. It's, and one of the guests spoke about, he was from UK. He's like, in UK, the whole National Health Service, NHS. He's like, for them, the success KPI was how soon do they shift patients to beds.
correct,
And so to meet that, what they started doing, this they put up beds in the hallway, in the waiting area. It's like as soon as somebody came up, within 5 minutes, they assign a bed. Patient is on the bed, but but he's in the hallway. So is it solving for anything? Probably not. So maybe like in your case, maybe that's not his KPI. I mean, or to give
correct.
somebody earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very interesting that how
And
do you
company lost
design that?
it. See, they would have charged me for 2 days. Now
Yeah,
imagine that. So there's 1,000 customers like that.
it's like
If,
customer coming and giving my money. Like start,
I'm like,
yeah.
started. Take my money. Then look, sorry, can't do it. Okay. No, to your point, you raise an interesting point, and that reminds me. There was a long time back, dating myself, almost a decade back. Uh, I was managing, one of the relationships with the key customer.
Hmm.
Customer said, "Hey, we need to move to more value based relationship." Okay. I'm like, yes,
Hmm.
of course. Let's start measuring value. And my first thing was the minute you start measuring it, you will commoditize it.
Right,
Okay, just to your point, right? The minute you start, get driven by the KPI rather than the outcome of what
right.
is value, defining what is value. In your so into back coming back to the question, how do you measure what is a success KPI? Correct. To me, a success KPI is always, and that's where I think the biggest transformation for contact center to a customer experience center, one of the big things is how you transform it from being just a cost center to a profit center. Okay. As long as things remain as a cost center, they will remain A KPI driven. Okay, how do I, it's always a race to the bottom. Okay,
Right.
if you are a profit center where you're being measured, okay, what is my balance sheet impact of this experience center? Okay, either my revenue is going up, okay, at the right cost. I'm not saying the lowest cost. I'm saying at the right cost. So what is the margin? I need to deliver this revenue at. Okay. Then second, what is in general, my brand perception, which through your social, or your other customer experience groups and others, is that going up? Okay, my brand perception.
Right.
And it's not that tough to measure in today's world, right? So using all the social and everything. Okay. And third, what is my repeat customer rate? Okay. And I would add a fourth one, which I think a bit hard to accomplish, would be when you actually see a shift where your inbound traffic, the calling or reach outs, okay, shows a shift from care and service to more revenue and care. Okay, that means things are going well. More customers are calling you. Okay, because they're saying, hey, yes, I love this. I probably need to add this or do this. So instead of just coming back with problems, repeat problems, things like that. So that is where it needs to evolve. And I know there's a lot of different industry groups, there's a lot of individual thought leaders out there, who have proposed new age metrics, and I think we as an industry need to move to that. What is that common consensus? I don't know what's the right answer. Uh, but I strongly believe it cannot be anymore your post facto surveys. No one responds to a survey.
True. Yeah.
I
And
only
and
respond to a
probably
survey
by the
when
time
I'm absolutely upset.
you you probably lost the customer by then.
Yeah, because I'm only responding to a survey when I'm absolutely upset.
True. Yeah. There's a bias on
Correct?
in it.
I'm like upset, yes, I'll give you a one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, on the call when I'm very happy with an associate, who I've been talking to, they've done a great job. I will give a verbal affirmation to that. I'll tell them, hey, thank you. You did a great job. You made my day. Things like that. Now, how do you capture that? Is it getting captured? I don't think. In many people are capturing that as a positive. Yes, now you have, or we'll give you an auto QA score or an auto this score, NPS score. Maybe that, but that is more important, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Because one of my guests also said that it's that memory of the experience is more important than the experience itself.
Yeah,
That what's the
correct.
memory of that? And now brands are focusing on how do we design for positive memories or positive experiences that leaves a lasting impression.
Correct.
But coming, so what you're saying is, if let's say some of the CX initiatives the brands are having, they should rather be tied to revenue.
I think so. I absolutely believe so.
But my next, rather question or what I want to discuss with you, when we're designing, let's say, a CX dashboard now. Sorry, I keep going back to my
Yeah,
analytics
yeah,
hat.
no, of course.
When we're designing a CX dashboard, so there are two sides. One are the business metrics, which everybody is used to looking at, focused on. What's my revenue? All those things. The other side is the customer metrics.
Correct.
Now, the customer metrics, it is evolving now. It is evolving to some, like empathy. It's no more, I mean, probably early customer metrics would be uh, inclusivity or redefindability, product findability, or how that customer effort score is in terms of doing a particular task. But now it's also slightly evolving about human outcomes. What's the human need, what's the emotion, like you said, we're doing that. So how do we go about designing a CX dashboard now? Because one thing which I do in my organization, which we pretty much feel very strongly about, is we start with business OKRs. From business OKRs, we divide them into business goals, And from business goals, then we divide into, to achieve this business goals, let's look at what data we have, what analysis can be done. Although on that, I'm just thinking, should we also overlay that for that business goal, what's the customer or human goal, and what are their needs?
Yeah.
And
I
for
would say
that,
yes, as long as your
because
business goal is. You see, that would be your business goal, correct? What you're
hmm,
saying is, hey, should I define it as a business goal? So you have very
but
strong analytics background.
shouldn't everything be related to a business goal eventually, like revenue?
It should be. It should be absolutely.
Hmm.
And you have a very strong background in analytics. See, at the end of the day, it is what is everything about. It is about what x's should I measure
Hmm.
for a y. Correct. I need to know what all x's are there
Right.
to achieve a y.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, how often do you see that we have defined that x and the y equation?
Hmm.
I think we get too lost either on the y or on the
Hmm.
x. What we fail is, we don't. Okay, let's say, okay,
Hmm.
what is AST, FCR, NPS, CSAT? They're all x's.
Right.
They're not y's, but we
Right.
treat them as y's.
Hmm. Right.
Correct. So it's okay. Yes, now the whys at the end. Your actually, how do you measure? So we have to define how we'll measure that why, right? In that terms of, is it revenue, or is it whatever it is? So then you say, okay, now an AST moving up by 10%, or this, how does my why get impacted? Then you have a lot more play. Correct. Then you will do the right thing. Okay. Because you would say,
Yeah.
okay, hey, if my call duration goes up, it does not, it actually, makes my why go up. Or, what is the sensitivity analysis
Right.
between
And
that
if you
X
know,
and Y?
the why, you'll ask the right questions as well to your team.
Correct. And then,
Yeah.
what is my, so one is sensitivity analysis, and then what is my correlation between two X's?
Hmm.
Okay. Does my FCR go up when my AST go up? Ideally, it should, right? I'm spending a little bit more time, to resolve for it. Correct. But then, does my CSAT drop? Maybe not.
Hmm.
Maybe it actually goes up because, as we talked about, right, customer is happy. Okay, you took time, but you solved for it.
Hmm.
Okay. But today, in a typical environment, you would say, oh, ASC needs to be down.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
because it's just like your hospital. Your hospital beds needs to churn.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so it's that X and Y equation. So it's back to the basics. It's like what
Yeah.
am I measuring for what?
Right. Everything, I think, boils down to basics in the end of the day. It's
It
like,
does. It does,
I mean,
right?
it's like you spend your whole life seeking for nirvana, meditation, and end of the day, what turns out to be is just breathing.
Yeah,
It's like,
correct.
you
Correct.
know.
And then that, to close the loop, that brings us back to your first question on what we started, right? Hey,
Hmm.
with all of this artificial intelligence technology, what do you see is where should companies invest, or how do you see that changing? Okay. And how do you find the right areas to invest in? I think that was a question.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, if you figure out your X and Y, you will know,
Right.
what areas to apply AI in. Okay.
Hmm.
What areas to invest in instead of just going through a hype curve.
Very interesting. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And one last question is, people who are entering into this whole CX space in the industry, I'm sure it's very overwhelming for them. So much which
Right.
is happening. So what's, one piece of advice you'll give to your those, young CX leaders out there? How do they balance tech, humanity, their own learning? I mean, what are the skills they should be focusing on? Because now, I mean, if you hear all these, LLMs or the founders, there's like, you don't have to learn technology, but I know I need to learn. So it's very, I'm
Correct.
sure it's very overwhelming for them.
See, one thing I would say, of course, the younger generation which is moving into the workforce, correct? They're much more technically savvy. Okay, we don't need to teach them how to use AI.
Right.
They know it. Okay, they've
They
been
know it.
using it, and then they're very adaptable to it. What skills are needed is couple of things. One, you have to be very curious to learn. Okay, when I say learn, it's not a technology aspect. Okay, it's to understand what how the process is working. What is the bigger picture, and then drill it down to that piece of work, because that does two things, right? One, it gives you an appreciation of what you're doing and what is the impact of it. Okay, and I think, and it's great to see that today's generation wants to see that impact, to make their work impactful. Okay. Second, I think CX is a great place to be in, because the amount of possibilities of what you can do or what you can learn is tremendous. Be it interacting directly with the end customers, moving into data, into analytics, into design, into actual a marketing space, or a sales space. I think it's a great area to learn and grow, and then define what you want to do. Third, from a just learning perspective, what I said is curious. Also, be patient. Be patient to learn. Okay, because I know it's a generation which needs rapid gratification, instant
Yeah,
gratification.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Good things come, but good things take some patience. And
Sometime
patience to
patience.
learn,
Yeah.
to be curious. To poke holes into things,
Be
think different.
curious. Yeah.
So
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much. I mean, I love this conversation. I'm sure I can go on for hours and hours with you as well. So thank you for sharing. I mean, great perspective from not just talking about tech, but also talking about the human on the other side. Talking about their feelings, how we can impact those feelings, how this whole space is evolving, the whole relatedness versus personalization, and then how brands should focus on the why, on the outcomes, the value, and not just the cost. That'll, I think, drive the actual transformation that they're looking forward to. So thank you so much. I mean, I had a great time. I'm sure all the
no,
listeners would
thank
have
you, Arjun.
learned so
This
much.
was actually great. Thank you for being such a great host, and I enjoyed our conversation. Look forward to talking to you again.
Likewise, likewise. So thanks everyone for watching, and do hit like, subscribe for more such episodes, and we'll keep coming up with more such episodes. Thank you.